Well, this is Dr. Mark Hitchcock here for Marking the Times, and it is great to be back with you. We had a video last week where we kind of talked about what happened with YouTube and kind of being put off of there, and we're back on now. So I think we're back from our exile now, and there's been a lot happening. So I've got quite a few things to catch up on. I've got some questions you all have sent in that I want to answer, but something that happened just this week that I want to talk about that is really interesting, I think that's kind of brewing over again in the Middle East, is really things are heating up again over there now, really between the two key players in the Middle East, which really are Israel and Iran. We've talked a lot about Israel and Iran. We talk about that quite a bit because, again, there's a major prophecy of the end times in Ezekiel 38 and 39 that talks about Iran and a whole group of nations that are going to invade Israel in the end times. And one of the other nations that will be part of that confederacy is Russia. But Iran's certainly a key player there. And really for many, many years, actually since the Islamic Revolution back in the late 70s, Iran and Israel have been engaged in what experts call a shadow war. So, war's never been declared, but it's been the shadow war where, Israel has hit their nuclear facilities with all kinds of viruses, computer viruses. Hezbollah is really an arm of Iran that's up north of Israel that, makes incursions into Israel. So this shadow war has been going on, but there was a real ratcheting up of the shadow war this past week, and really a rise in these regional tensions. What happened is Israel struck an Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps ship. The Revolutionary Guard Corps is the main arm, the paramilitary arm, and really terrorist arm in Iran. It was in the Red Sea off the coast of Yemen. And really that ship was considered by most to be like a floating base kind of that they used there. And it was called the Saviz, S-A-V-I-Z was the name of the ship. And what's happening now, what people are concerned about is this is going to raise the specter now of attacks and counterattacks between Israel and Iran that could easily spin out of control. And a lot of this is happening, I think, at the same time as well. So the Biden administration is kind of being put to the test. The U.S. and Iran are kind of in a standoff about getting back to the Iran nuclear deal. And, both sides are kind of saying the other side has to come in with no preconditions before they will meet. So while that's happening between the U.S. and Iran, Israel is hit this ship and, debilitated the ship over in the Red Sea. Netanyahu said this recently, Benjamin Netanyahu said, "Iran is the greatest enemy of Israel. I am determined to halt it. We are hitting it in the entire region." So Israel realizes what a threat Iran is to them and really to their existence. And so they're going to reach out now and begin to hit Iran anywhere in the entire region. Iran in recent days, they're ratcheting up again. They're escalating their radioactive materials, their uranium, their enriching of uranium. They also have cruise missiles that can hit targets almost 2,000 miles away. They have some underground places they're building. They're called missile cities, where these missiles are being constructed. So there's all kinds of things that are happening with Iran that have been taking place here recently. And I think could easily come to a head. I think they're going to really test the Biden administration with what Israel has done. Iran now is going to probably retaliate back against Israel in some fashion. And again, this is going to start this back and forth. And we're going to find out what the Biden administration is going to do about all this. But again, this is all just kind of stage setting. It's all the foreshadow. It's all the build up to what ultimately will happen in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. And it's something we need to keep our eyes on, because it seems like these wars that break out over there between Israel and Iran, between Israel or at least these skirmishes between Israel and Hezbollah and others, seem to always intensify in the summer. And we're heading into the summer months. Obviously, COVID has been kind of dampened a bit now. Iran was dealing with that in a very big way, as was Israel. So I think we're going to start to begin to see, as those things begin to lessen, they're going to be taking out their frustrations on one another. So we'll keep watching that for you. And if you'll keep watching as well, we'll try to keep you informed about what's going on. Well, I appreciate you all watching and being back with us again. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I hope you have a good week.